Welcome, Kevelyn Guzman. How are you?
Good. Thank you for having me, Lily.
We're excited to have you. You ready to pour into our listeners?
I am ready.
So, Kevelyn, tell us a bit about your journey to leadership and what you're currently doing.
Okay, great. So I started in Wall Street freshly out of school. I am born and raised in Manhattan. And so I started in Wall Street. Quickly after 4 years, I decided that, I'm really good with people and I thrive around people. I enjoy just having conversations and building relationships. And so I left Wall Street and I went to a small residential commercial firm on 57th Street. And shortly after a year, the market crashed. This was in 2008. The market crashed. Everybody started closing their doors. The company that I worked for closed their offices. And some of the agents that worked there were moving over to Warburg Realty. And they were like, you've got to come and you've got to meet these guys. They're wonderful. And again, I'm looking for connection. I'm looking for people. I'm looking for the energy. And so I moved over to Warburg and I never left. It's been 17 years. We were acquired by Coldwell Banker right after.
Mhm.
And I stepped into the role of regional vice president. But as the chief operating officer for Warburg, my job was to recruit. My job was the budget. My job was really just the culture. And so I was right in the place where I wanted to be because it meant that I had the job to put people in the right chair, to drive the success of those people, but also enhance the culture. And so I was so excited back then. And I'm even more excited today because I'm still doing that, but on a larger scale.
So, it's a real estate firm in New York.
In Manhattan, yes.
Piece of cake, huh?
Yeah, it's not easy. We're in the most competitive market. That's one. And two, New Yorkers are tough. So it's not just winning them over with the resources, it is connecting with them, it is finding something in common, it is cultivating that relationship. It's harder than what people think.
So, you said a couple of things that your work is to connect with people, but to drive success and to enhance the culture, which is beautiful. That is the work of a leader. You're not just connecting with people, but you're looking to see how you can help elevate them. Tell us, as leaders who are listening in, what are some things that they can do to enhance that in their
I
organization?
should say most leaders are focused on just the numbers. But in our business, it's not just about the numbers. Yes, we do have to look at the numbers, and those are important. But we're also building people up. We're helping people build a business. So agents are businesses within a business. They are their own CEO. And they're looking at you not only to see the areas in which they should be developing themselves as the CEO of their business, and they're looking at you for ideas. They're looking at you for the right path. And so, what you do from the top down matters, and what you say and how you move, all of it matters. When it comes to the things that you should be looking for, you should always be looking for people that inspire you to be better. And what does that mean? That means people that help you not only with your confidence, because confidence is a big piece when it comes to selling real estate. Not everybody has the confidence to pick up the phone and call someone that they've never even spoken to before.
Mhm.
Not everybody has the confidence to be able to walk into a building, and perhaps it's the first time they're walking into that building and know everything there is to know about it. So you're building that confidence. Find people that are aligned with your passion, with your vision. And that can be something as simple as, you know what, I like what this person offers in terms of motivating, in terms of numbers knowledge. It could be anything. You have to find your pack. And that's not easy to do, but you just have to be out there connecting with people. And that's the one thing that got me in the business to begin with, connecting with people.
It's something that's essential in leadership, really, connecting with them, adding value to them. Now, not every broker, not every agency is the same. As a matter of fact, when we think of real estate, it's the numbers that we think about. So
Right.
I can see you on the leading edge. I can see you changing and being an innovator. There are people that are tuning in. How can they connect with you?
You can find me at Kevelyn Guzman on Instagram. That's my handle. You can email me to kevelyn.guzman@cbrealty.com. You can find me on TikTok as Kevelyn Guzman. You can find me on LinkedIn. So people can connect with me in all social media platforms, even via email. So I'm really accessible and I like to be accessible. I truly believe this. Everyone you meet in life serves a purpose on your path, or you in whatever path or journey they're on.
Beautiful.
And there is absolutely nothing, no conversation that I've ever had that I've walked away thinking, well, I mean, that didn't really do anything.
Mhm.
Every conversation, whether it's negative, positive, or you don't think of it at the moment, there is a reason behind it. And everyone you meet gives you that nugget you need. I have had a conversation and seen people in the street that maybe that day I needed someone to say to me, I read your Inman contributor column and I just want to tell you it inspired me. Maybe that day I needed to hear that for whatever reason. Maybe I was just having a rough day, but everyone you meet serves a purpose in your life. And that's why we have to treat relationships sacred.
Kevelyn, you inspire trust. You know, as I'm talking to you, I'm like, okay, if I need to sell my house, I know who to call, which is a powerful way to be. So, how important is trust in leadership?
Very important. It is actually critical for the organization for people to feel like they can trust the leader. And look, and trust comes in many different forms, right? I'll give you an example. Most people think that trust has to do with like sharing their personal information with you. That's not it. What trust means is that you're going to deliver on what you promised.
Oh, love it.
Right? So
Mhm.
someone comes to you and says, hey, I have this listing. I'm going to need all the resources behind it because I'm trying to sell it. It is me delivering on getting those resources for that person. It is delivering on what you say you're going to deliver on. That is the number one form of trust that is critical in any leadership role.
Yeah.
Right? If I'm hiring someone and I'm promising them something, deliver on it.
Mm-hmm.
Because then that person is going to walk away feeling like that's not what we talked about. And I trusted that you would deliver on that.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So most people think of it like they're going to come in and pour their life. That's not always what that's about.
So, Kevelyn, what kind of listener are you looking to connect with? And what can they expect to get when they do connect with you?
I'm looking for the listener that needs the inspiration. I'm looking for the listener that has not met someone like me, a Latina in a leadership role that has a diverse background. I'm looking for that listener that is looking for opportunities, right? And that perhaps by listening to me, they can say, okay, well, there are leaders out there that really care about making sure that their culture is strong, making sure that they are trusted. I'm looking for the listener that feels like, you know what, there's more out there that's not just the normal thing that you hear online, which is usually just about what the company is offering. The company isn't a company without the people. Then the people come first.
Right. You know, as I listen to leaders, you know, I study leadership. This is the work of my soul. There are three things that people are looking for in leaders. One, can I trust you? Two, can you help me? And three, do you care for me? And so as leaders, we want to make sure that our people are feeling that. But we also want our leaders to walk in those footsteps as well. Very important. Thank you. Now, John Maxwell says change is inevitable, but growth is optional. And sometimes these changes bring crisis. So, what has been your best crisis and why?
I have a long list of crises, but I will stick with the one that I feel was deep for a lot of people, and it was during COVID.
Mhm.
During COVID, no one really knew what was going to happen. No one knew what we were fighting. And there was so much uncertainty. There was so much just questioning our lives as a whole, right? It made everybody rethink about the things that we're doing on a daily basis. It forced us to slow down. It forced us to wonder, what will life be like? What are we doing on a regular basis? And when I say it slowed us down, I mean, we weren't rushing to get to the office. We weren't rushing to come home and have dinner. It forced us to slow down and really fall in love with, our kitchen again, fall in love with the small things in life, and leaving aside all of that, worrying about all those people that lost their lives. I felt like we were in crisis mode for a while. And it was one of those things where we didn't know what it meant. We didn't know what was going to happen. And the uncertainty out of all things was the number one thing that for me, I had never gone through something like that. It was my first pandemic. And, now suddenly we had to work from home, something that we had never done before. And how do you connect with people over a computer? How do you connect in the ways that you were connecting with before? And so there were all like these emotions and feeling of distance and not having control and not being able to connect with people that I had never been through before. And so for me, that crisis meant not only being strong for everybody else at the company and showing that we're going to get through this together, but also taking care of myself and all the emotions that I was going through and the uncertainty, and how do I face our employees and what do I say to our agents, right? And that was a very difficult time.
Yeah, especially people who are production oriented, like we're producers. I'm one that, like I get shit done. So all of a sudden, that's not part of my identity anymore because I can't. And
Right.
so that did cause us to go inward. And this just occurred to me. And I wonder if that was preparing us for now, because we're facing uncertainty now, especially as women of color. And so there's a lot that we can learn. These conversations and these connections are super important. So thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
So now, as someone committed to continuous learning, what are you learning right now?
Wow. So right now, it's interesting because the company is going through a major acquisition. The things that I am learning right now, it's actually happening in real life. How this massive company just acquired us. And there's a lot of changes headed our way. And the number one thing I would say is the one thing I've always been great at, and I always feel like I can always get better at, is adapting.
Love that.
And I am working through adapting to all of those changes to how we're working, changes to benefits, just changes all around. And the word that always keeps coming to mind is adapt. Adapt. The sooner you adapt, the easier it will be.
I just helped a company go through an acquisition phase. And one of the things that kept bubbling up is fear of the unknown. And so I not only had to deal with my fears that bubbled up, but also the fears of those who I had the privilege of leading. And so fear is an important thing to look at. What are your thoughts about fear and how we should look at it?
So I've been thinking about this a lot because fear is that thing in our body. The way I see it, fear protects us from the unknown. It's that feeling in your body that something's not right, that you should run for cover. If we didn't have that feeling, then, a lot of people would get hurt. Because think about it, like if you're getting on a roller coaster and something doesn't feel right and you have that fear, you're not going to go on. And that could prevent you from something major happening. Fear helps you, but it could also be detrimental because with fear comes panic. And most people tend to panic. Most people tend to say, You know what? I'm going to go find another job because I don't know what's going to happen here, instead of just waiting it out and see what happens. The one thing I always do, and I do this in my head all the time, when I find myself in that panic fear mode, I count backwards from 5 to 1. And suddenly, when you do that, you stop thinking about that thing that's causing you fear. And that's how I cope with it. It's fascinating. I'm a planner by nature. So I like to know things 6 months ahead. I'm thinking about what's going to happen a year from now. And granted that sometimes it's not healthy, but that's just in my nature. And so it's really just managing your mind. That's what it comes down to. And at times I have to have a conversation with myself. Why worry about the things you can't control? It hasn't even happened yet. Yet
Right.
here I am worried about it. Those are conversations I have to have with myself.
So that counting is a wonderful technique. And I look at that as a grounding technique because our bodies are like batteries. And so when our emotions are heightened, we need to figure out ways to kind of bring it down. And it could be breathing, it could be taking a walk and releasing that energy. Those are great grounding techniques, as I said, and a great way to release that fear. You mentioned something that fear can protect us. And
Mhm.
some people are fearful of fear. And really, it could be an ally because even if we're feeling irrational fear, if we sit down and we kind of go through, okay, well, why is it that I'm feeling this? And maybe we don't know. This is where a coach is really helpful.
Right.
This is where someone who knows you and appreciates you and values you will tell you the truth, can
Right.
step up and say, hey, what's going on? And ask you the questions. And those are things that can help us to grow.
Yeah,
And
no, you're right. And there are levels to this. Like that fear can lead to panic attacks, which can lead to mental health issues. Like if we don't do more work around having that grounding technique, then it will lead to bigger problems. And so we really have to do the work to help ourselves, to really dig deep inside and figure out what really is not only bothering us, but get to the root of the cause and then figure out things that can help you, because it could morph into something terrible for your body and for your state of mind. It is crippling what not being able to manage those fears can do to you.
I have an inner circle, 2, 3 friends have on speed dial, pin them on our phones. To me, that's important. People that won't judge you, people that accept you for who you are, people that it doesn't matter what position you're in, they will drop whatever, listen, and help you through that. I tend to be hyper independent. A lot of women tend to be that way, especially
Mm-hmm.
if we've gone through trauma. And so, relearning that we can connect with people, relearning that we can trust each other. When we started talking, you said that one of the passions that you have is helping women elevate. How important is that?
I grew up in a household full of girls. I was the youngest of four. And when I tell you that I know what it is to be around girls and create that sisterhood, I carry that with me. And I will tell you, Lily, that not everyone is like that for whatever reason. Not all of them want to see other women elevate and grow and be successful and be great. One person is what we need to help make that change. There's room for everyone to shine. We all have something beautiful. We all bring something amazing, right? There's no need for any woman to tear any other woman down. And think of it like this: if all the women would stick together, do you know the impact we would make?
Yeah.
We wouldn't be in half the mess we're in right now.
Well, I mean, in all honesty, really, part of that is true, but part of that is also our society and our history. Historically, women have been oppressed for a long time. And it does elevate my heart when I do see women coming together. And I see that a lot more. So I think it's changing. because we see the power in that.
I agree. Nothing brings me more joy when I see women just sticking together and helping each other. I love that. And I have a great support system, but I wish I had more because the way I see it, it's like everyone brings something different. I love the woman that is knowledgeable and is super smart. I love the woman that loves to look great. I just love to be around just different women because I truly do believe that it inspires and motivates me.
Yeah, we need it. We all need it. All right. So when you reflect on leadership today, what is your biggest concern and what gives you the most hope?
My biggest concern is the agenda that none of us see and the way that's handled. I think that empathy remains critical in this environment, in an environment of volatility. Every day we wake up and there's a new war or new something. And so, as leaders, have to be empathetic. We have to make sure that we care about people. And again, like during COVID, we lost a little bit of that. Everybody was just kind of behind a computer, but we need to bring all of that back. We really need to do the work about caring about people. I know numbers are important and I keep saying it, but we just have to do better.
Yeah. And what gives you the most hope?
The most hope is when I see people that they're coming in, they're passionate. It might be different, but they're making it better.
Yeah. I think that's another thing that COVID taught us, that change is going to happen.
It's inevitable.
Yeah. And so one of the things last year that I was challenged on that I embraced is to be more of a go with the flow kind of person. Now, Kevelyn, if you know me, I'm a planner too. I like control of some things. When I decided that I wanted to just go with the flow and let go of things, of course, a lot of things came down, like things I didn't expect. Stuff like my basement flooded. Talk about go with the flow. And not getting into a panic mode, but understanding that this is a part of life. Right. And this too shall pass. And that phrase is very interesting because when things are going bad, it helps you. But when things are going good too, it humbles us. Right. Remember that life is like this. We'll have peaks and valleys, but we need to focus on going up and to the right, always in growth.
I love that. Thank you.
So I love what you're bringing, and this is why I do the work that I do. I'm still learning to listen more. I'm still learning to ask great questions because that's what leaders do. But also the connection and us learning collectively, listening to each other's voices and continuing to up level. Now, I have a surprise question from a former guest. Are you ready?
Ready.
So Dr. Kwaju wants to know, what is the language you use to overcome a failure and move forward?
So something I say to myself when we talk about being fluid, I always say to myself, Kev, this is one of those things you just have to be fluid. It kind of goes back to what you were saying, go with the flow.
Yes.
And so, and I always say to myself, you can only control the things that are in your control. You can't control this. So I am always like saying to myself, anytime I'm approaching failure or that I feel like it's not going my way, is back to that. This is part of life. This too shall pass. And I say this to the team all the time. We stick to that. You know, there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. I always try to remain fluid. And by fluid, I mean just go with it. So we have this obstacle, we'll get through it. And I always say to the team, we'll get through this together.
When did you learn the most? Did you learn the most when you were out the gate and nailed it? Or did you learn the most when you went ahead, you took that imperfect action, you took the risk and you fell, but you got back up and said, right, what worked, what didn't work, and what can I do better? Right.
And I have to say, it's when you fall, it's not really about how hard you fell. It's about how fast you got up that matters. And so for me, anytime I failed in anything, it's just about how quickly I'm going to get up how quickly I'm going to get to the next level. And I focus on that. And I don't even worry about like what even got me there to begin with. It's something hard to do,
Yeah.
right? And you have to be strong, because if you get in that dark space for too long, thinking about all the things that went wrong, it's hard to get out of it.
Yeah.
And so you have to stay focused on how to get out of it and not focus on what got you there.
And we're not perfect. I'm just learning. I mean, in all my years on this earth, on this planet, I just had a thought recently where actually I read it. The first humans were Cro-Magnon, very different from us. You know, you could look at that and say, well, that was a miss, that was a failure, but it wasn't. It was a process towards improvement. And so if the creator or source goes through a process, what makes us think that we need to nail it the first time? And as leaders, being humble enough to say, I don't know everything. I need help. And humility and wisdom are very connected.
The fastest way someone can destroy a company is having a big ego. Ego is the enemy of leadership. When someone walks in a room and feels like they know more than everyone in the room,
Everybody
everyone,
feels it, right?
it's
Yes,
terrible. It's a
you,
terrible
you
feeling.
don't know, but everybody else does.
Right. I am always making sure that I'm checking that, because it could creep in. I've seen leaders do some serious damage to the culture, to the company, to the bottom line by not checking their ego.
One of the things that I've learned in this leadership journey is that if we don't deal with our shit, and I'm talking about, I think most of us have gone through some kind of trauma.
Mm-hmm.
If we don't deal with that, Kevelyn, and we become leaders, it shows up in our leadership. It's magnified. Not only that, we hurt other people. You know, when you think of trust, for instance, if you've gone through trauma, you haven't handled your trauma or haven't, gone through the process of healing, chances are there's a big wall that you set up. And as a leader, that wall is very damaging. You think it's protecting you, it's not protecting you, and it's keeping you from opportunities, but it's also hurting other people. And so when you talk about ego, every time I think of someone who walks in that way, to me, it's someone in protection mode. It's self-preserving, and self-preservation is a natural thing. However, when we don't handle our shit, it shows up
All the time.
and everybody else sees it. We see it in our government, we see it in our school systems, we see it in our healthcare systems.
Yeah. So the insecure leader, it's a reflection on everything you do in the organization. Something as simple as, you might have an idea and that person might think it's a good idea, but because it might just work out and you might shine, the insecurity in them might want to tear you down and say that's a terrible idea, right? Which hurts then the bottom line.
I'm with you. So, as a listener of this podcast, what's a question that you'd like a future leadership guest to respond to? Like, what are you curious about?
I'm curious. I mean, it depends on who it is. Let's say if they're in the corporate world, how do they deal with the corporate politics in an office? Let's just say that you're someone that's coming in with a fresh perspective, and everybody else that's been there, they've been at the company for some time. Those relationships you haven't been a part of. Like, how would you navigate the corporate environment where, everybody has their pal and you're the newcomer?
That's a great question. And what comes to mind for me is listening a lot, observing a lot, and asking really good questions. Not that that nails that answer. It's a great question. And thank you for contributing to my long list of questions.
You're welcome.
Now, is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners before we close out?
At first, I want to thank you. This was great. And kind of like I needed this. I came here because I like to provide insight and inspire and motivate. But this was great for me as well. So thank you for having me. If anyone is looking to reach out to me, my handle is Kevelyn Guzman. And then my email is kevelyn.guzman@cbrealty.com. I'd love to connect, even if it's someone that wants to join some of my women's movement or even coaching in other areas. I am open to exploring all of that.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for adding value to me and to our listeners. It's been a great conversation.
I sincerely love this, Lily. Thank you.